back now to the US election, and we've examined how Donald Trump might approach his relationships with the world. Now let's turn our attention to Hillary Clinton. Here's Dana Lewis again.
Are we going to lead the world with strength and in accordance with our values? That's what I intend to do. I intend to be a leader of our country that people can count on, both here at home and around the world.
She cares about American leadership. She wants America to be interventionist.
Reasserting the interests of the United States in an adequate fashion to protect the national security of the Western world.
Madam Secretary, please raise the right hand.
Hillary Clinton is no shrinking violet when it comes to the world and America's role. And she has the experience as President Obama's Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013.
Again and again and again.
She supported the invasion of Iraq, organized sanctions against Iran, advocated military action in Libya, although she was later accused of being asleep at the switch when the American ambassador was killed in Benghazi. Clinton is considered to be a hawk, an interventionist, to the point many Republicans agree with this Democrat on foreign policy.
The key is, in my estimation, Hillary Clinton will be somebody who will make America's abilities and power felt once more in support of her allies and against those that are detrimental to her nation's interests.
Accusing Russia of war crimes in Aleppo, she has called for a no-fly zone over Syria, despite the fact Russian President Putin has warned America his warplanes will support the Assad regime. Dangerous showdown?
Well, she has no plan for Syria, and look, with her you'll end up in World War III.
Does that take us to the brink?
It's certainly ratcheting up the military risk several notches. I think if it's done with sufficient credibility, then people back off. The danger is that instead of speaking softly and carrying a big stick, she speaks loudly and carries a small stick.
Clinton has a long history with Russia. She reportedly reluctantly agreed to President Obama's initiative to reset relations with Putin.
We will do it together, okay?
And after that, things turned sour. Crimea, Ukraine, and Russia has rattled NATO countries with aggressive overflights and sail paths. She has directly blamed Putin and Russia for trying to influence the U.S. election by its alleged hacking of Democratic Party servers, and she has promised payback.
We've got to step up our game, make sure we are well defended and able to take the fight to those who go after us. As president, I will make it clear that the United States will treat cyber attacks just like any other attack. We will be ready with serious political, economic, and military responses.
Do you think that Hillary pushing back against Putin takes us to the brink and is dangerous, or do you think it's time an American president did so?
It's far more dangerous not to do anything about Putin. At the moment, we don't think Putin is serious about attack, and he doesn't think we're serious about defense. And that's a really, really dangerous imbalance of perceptions. We need an American president, an American administration, which pulls the European allies together, draws a line and says to Putin, no more.
Europeans look to America for stability and security. And there was a poll conducted this summer across 10 European countries, and it showed that 85% of people wouldn't vote for Donald Trump, 60% endorsed Hillary Clinton.
Outside the University of London, we caught students in between classes and put it to them. Who would they support if they had a vote?
It seems like she's the candidate that I can trust to basically not run the country into the ground.
Hillary Clinton doesn't instill confidence, but Donald Trump certainly instills fear.
He's very against what I think America is about.
People are using these votes now to air grievances.
Clinton has also pledged to show more American naval power in the South China Seas, while also engaging China economically. President Obama was seen to be in retreat around the world. Hillary Clinton wants America to lead and influence the globe. Diplomatic, but more inclined than her predecessor to back up U.S. interests with economic and American military muscle. I'm Dana Lewis, reporting for Insight.
Well, still with me, the author and US political analyst James D. Boys, and Kevin Craig, a chief executive for the communications company PLMR. Just on the sort of Russia and Europe relationship, NATO, one of the best investments America has ever made. So do you think European strategists will be pleased to hear that kind of rhetoric coming from Hillary Clinton.
Absolutely. 8 years ago, when she first ran for the presidency, it was being suggested that one of her slogans should be ready to lead on day one. And if that was the case 8 years ago, now with 4 years of sexed out under her belt, there's no doubt that that is even more the case. She's someone who is very familiar with world leaders. She has traveled widely, both as First Lady, as Senator, and Secretary of State. So this is someone who believes in a strong role for the United States on the international stage, believes in internationalism and multilateralism, very importantly. So certainly to her, NATO and the United Nations will be key to US foreign policy.
The transatlantic arrangements, not just with the UK, I'm thinking, but also with the wider Europe, will be stronger under President Clinton, would you believe, Kevin?
Without doubt, and we've never seen an election campaign with such a profound difference on issues such as NATO, TTIP, the Russian relationship, as we now have. And indeed, two candidates with a different view on Article 5. You know, Trump openly questioning the principle of mutual self-defense, and Hillary, as has been said, a very clear record. You know, this is somebody who was in the room when Osama bin Laden was killed, so it's fine for Trump to have his rhetoric about terrorism and defense, but she has been there and done that. And your correspondent was quite right. The figures for support across Europe, apart from Russia, are overwhelming for Clinton. But of course, none of those people have votes, do they?
They don't, except for a few Americans living in Europe, I suppose. But one of the other thorny problems for all world leaders has been the Israel-Palestine question. It's been off the news agenda, I suppose. We've got the conflict in Iraq and then Syria, which is dominating the headlines. But is this something that Israelis can be reassured by President Clinton, or would they be nervous that she might actually want to push them into a better deal with the Palestinians?
Well, it's been made very, very clear in the past that when Israel and Palestine have been offered deals that they're not happy with, they will walk away from it. Famously last, of course, when Bill Clinton was president at Camp David. However, Hillary Clinton is a known entity to the leadership in both Palestine and in Israel. She's someone who has got a strong record with regard to working with both sides. I think, if anything, there is an inclination that she will be more pro-Israel than with regard to Palestinian interest at this point. But certainly the extent to which she's going to be able to do anything to push that agenda is somewhat limited. She was very instrumental in getting George Mitchell appointed to be special envoy to that part of the world. But as we discovered, it's very, very easy to make a play around that position, and as a result, very little happened under Barack Obama during his tenure in office in that part of the world.
And while we're in that region, Kevin, the relationship with Iran and the nuclear deal that Obama did, just celebrated by many in his party, but not all.
No, and again, you've put your finger on one of the key policy differences of this election. Hillary Clinton, very clear, that deal with Iran was a triumph. It was diplomacy, it was persistent, it was an example, if you like, of American soft power. Donald Trump is totally disparaging of that agreement, doesn't have any regard for it. And I think the interesting thing is, for those of us working in politics and campaigns, is how would a Donald Trump presidency be in practice in Islamic countries, given his own rhetoric on Muslims at home? That's one of the reasons why people are so concerned, I think.
To what extent does she have to apologize for Iraq and America's mishandling, as many, even those on the Democratic side, of that whole Gulf War I, Gulf War II and aftermath?
I think, to be quite honest, Hillary Clinton has apologized for her vote on that. Barack Obama has arguably spent 8 years apologizing for it and trying to walk America back from that position. So I really don't think that Hillary Clinton's going to waste too much time from day one in the Oval Office looking backwards. I think she's going to look forward and try and figure out how it is that America can learn from those lessons, not leading from behind as Barack Obama has done, admittedly partly under her watch. Most people expect that she will be far more hawkish, but without trying to antagonize Putin in the Kremlin. I think she has worked very, very assiduously to try to court relationships around the world, and I think that will be an approach she'll take as president.
And her relationship, briefly, with President Putin will be interesting. Not least, he doesn't deal with many other women world leaders, does he?
Well, it's a first, you know. 45 times the Americans have chosen somebody for this post. We're on the edge, possibly, of the first ever woman. It's going to be fascinating, something that viewers of the House of Cards will be eagerly anticipating.
Thank you both very much indeed, Kevin and James. Now, we end with our Insight Bite. This is a little something that we feel you should know. And we can bring you these pictures from Miami, where early voters have cast their ballots. At some polling stations, queues extended out the door and round the block. So far, more than 40 million early votes have been cast. And in some states, like Colorado and Florida, the results show Republicans and Democrats in a dead heat. Well, this year, the number of Hispanic voters is up compared to 2012, which could be a reflection of Donald Trump's immigration policies. However, initial results show that votes from the Black American community have fallen. That's all for now. I'm Martin Stanford. That was Insight.